Hey everyone, me Kevin here with a late stimulus update for you for the evening of June 30th. Let's get right into it, but remember this video is sponsored by, well, this awesome clapper. Actually, not really, because I already broke off the little white part anyway. It's sponsored by life insurance, which you could sign up for in as little as 5 minutes. All right, let's get into it. Treasury Secretary Steve Mnuchin and Jerome Powell testified before the House today. I watched the entire testimony and took notes so that you don't have to. Mnuchin stated that 79% of businesses are at least partially open. I guess that was supposed to be good news. And retail sales rose 18% in May, double the expectation. He also stated that investors, this was actually quite interesting, have a high cash position right now, and that investors are ready for a reopening. This kind of implies that the stock market could, in theory, surge higher. He was asked if he would support extending the PPP, the Paycheck Protection Program, which does end today. By the way, I did post a video guiding you on how to apply for the PPP and the EIDL. Again, I posted a new one this morning. You could watch that with the little link up here or down below. That does expire today, so hop on that. By the way, if you have questions, a lot of people have been asking and getting answers in the free Discord chat, which you could join, link down below. Steve Mnuchin went on to state that he supports additional legislation for repurposing the leftover $130 billion that haven't been used at the moment. He does seem interested in directing that extra money to businesses, quote, most hard hit, as defined by the highest drop in revenues at those businesses. Then we get to Mr. J. Jerome Powell, who says his mission is to preserve capital in the system, even in a potential double-dip recession. And after doing a stress test on the banks, which we talked about last week, he reiterated that banks would be able to weather the storm and have enough cash and liquidity. AKA, banks should still have enough money to continue lending us if we should need it, whether it's through credit cards or home loans or whatever, despite some tightening happening in the loan market for real estate. He did mention that the current focus needs to be on small and medium-sized businesses and that we need to focus on preventing bankruptcies. He went on to say that small businesses generate the most jobs in the United States, yet they are the most at risk, especially if a second wave comes, which could undermine confidence within our country. Now let's talk about a new proposal on a potential extra $1,200 stimulus check for some, but first I want to make a quick note and buy a little bit more Etsy stock. I hold most of my Etsy stock in M1 Finance, which you could see kind of my portfolio on M1 Finance if you go to metkevin.com/stocks June 22, that's June 22nd. But for right now, I do want to buy a little bit of Etsy after hours. It is 3:10 p.m. right now in California time, so we're gonna go ahead and make this a good till cancel limit order for 106.30, and we will check the box for extended hours. This is Webull, so if you deposit $100 with this app, they will give you 2 free stocks worth up to $1,400, which you can then sell and then buy some Etsy stock if you want. We're going to go ahead and place that order together right here. There we go. The order is in. It is currently showing as an open order, and hopefully that fills by the time the video is over. The new proposed bill is yet another proposal in the House of Representatives, which unfortunately is not where the power is right now. However, this is known as the Relief Act. We'll keep this short. It's submitted by a representative named Bobby Rush, a Democrat, and this would permit college students who receive Pell Grants to be eligible for a one-time $1,200 stimulus check. This is interesting, though, because it's basically exactly what the HEROES Act would do. If they just passed the HEROES Act, college students, as well as many others, would get $1,200 stimulus checks, whether or not they are claimed as dependents. So maybe this is just sort of a branch of a bill because maybe this representative does not believe the HEROES Act will actually pass. We'll see where this ends up. At the same time as this was introduced, the White House has slammed the Moving Forward Act. The Moving Forward Act was a Democrat bill that was passed by the House pretty quickly. It was a 2,200-page bill, an infrastructure spending bill that promoted hydrogen and electric vehicles. The White House today called this a wasteful Green New Deal that would impede economic growth and, quote, impose unnecessary mandates. The White House argued that the Moving Forward Act is skewed towards urban areas like cities and would take on too much debt. It also did little to reduce permitting for projects like highways, which, by the way, one of the things I talked about when I talked about the Moving Forward Act, I think a week or two ago, was that the bill would actually require where, just as an example, gas manufacturers, anytime they make a car for a gas car, to have that automatic shut-off feature for the car's engine. So, you know, when sometimes you're sitting at the red light and the dude's car next to you like automatically shuts off, or maybe yours does, that feature would be mandated across all vehicles. That's an example of something that was in the Moving Forward Act, and it seems to be is one of those things that the White House is upset by because they see that as impeding economic growth. Now, this is straight from the White House. They did say they are still proponents for a new infrastructure bill. They just don't like this one, which is not very good for Tesla and Nikola. Not that we were really expecting this to pass. I mean, Tesla's up like 7% today. It crossed the $200 billion market cap, but this bill would have been a windfall for Tesla and potentially Nikola's hydrogen infrastructure. Now, this was an interesting story. A bellman from the MGM Grand tested positive for COVID-19 and filed a lawsuit along with multiple other coworkers, which this is interesting because we keep hearing about liability protections being a big deal as part of the next round of stimulus, and it's a big area of debate. Well, this lawsuit was filed against the casino chain for a lack of precautions by casino operators for preventing the spread of the coronavirus. MGM Grand released a statement that they've spent months creating a comprehensive plan for health and safety over the spread of the coronavirus and limiting it. However, those that put the lawsuit together suggest that the company doesn't let other coworkers know if somebody has tested positive for COVID-19 around them, putting the onus on them to figure out if somebody else is sick, which potentially exposes them to COVID-19. This comes at the same time as in Germany, 2,000 workers are striking from an Amazon fulfillment center for a lack of transparency around the same issue. Clearly, liability protections are going to be a huge part of the next stimulus package. By the way, the TSA had mentioned that they've been testing temperature checks at airports, and they're kind of suggesting that temperature checking might not be the best way to try to prevent the spread of the coronavirus. So it seems like when the CDC director says, we don't have the coronavirus under control, we kind of might be seeing indications of that, which, as the CDC director says, is very discouraging. Now, Dr. Fauci also came out and warned that the US is not in total control, which is kind of a softer way of saying that, but then he went hard and said, hey, you know, right now we might be seeing 35 to 42,000 cases a day. We might be up to 100,000 cases per day soon, which others have said we probably already have passed 100,000 cases per day, but we're just not able to test as much yet, so we don't even realize it yet. Then finally, the FDA has released guidelines for what a vaccine should look like. They want to see that the vaccine doesn't cause any kind of severe consequences or adverse side effects. Obviously, I would hope so. And it must have clearly demonstrated the vaccine's safety and its effectiveness, which effectiveness should be at least 50%. Which initially, when I heard that, I'm like, 50% effective for a vaccine? I mean, that doesn't sound great. But then I compared that to the effectiveness of the flu vaccine, and usually the flu vaccine is between 40 to 60% effective. So it looks like at least 50% effective is actually even potentially a little bit more of a stringent criteria for a vaccine to actually get approved by the FDA. It'll be interesting to see if this delays any kind of release of a vaccine, because quite frankly, there are many of us who are waiting for this vaccine to come out, not only so that we can be safe and go back to normal, but so that our vaccine stocks like the Cheesecake Factory, Dave & Buster's, Delta, and the cruise lines could finally have the skyrocket they deserve. Well, if you like this video, consider sharing it with somebody you care about. Consider subscribing to the channel. Check out my courses down below. There's a coupon code that does expire on July 4th. You get your life insurance down below, your 2 free stocks with Webull, and folks, we'll see you next time. Appreciate it.